You can start now, Dipti.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening as per your time zone. I am Dipti from the team of GISA Council. I welcome you all to the webinar of PCI DSS version 4.0.1, why it matters, who it's for, and key requirements, conducted by GISA Council. It is a not for profit organization committed to empowering individuals and organizations through specialized training and globally recognized certifications. Our mission is to strengthen the cybersecurity and IT governance ecosystem by building skilled professionals through programs such as PCI DSS, Implementer and Auditor, ISA, CISA, CSAM, C-Risk trainings, ISO 27001, CISSP training, SOC 2 Type 2 auditing program, and many more. Our director, Dr. Hiral Patel, has over 17 years of global experience in IT and cybersecurity as a consultant and lead auditor. She is passionate about mentoring and guiding professionals in building successful careers in information system audit, risk, and security. In just more than 2 years since our establishment, GISA Council has proudly trained over 3,200 professionals across 60 plus countries, including participants from 170 plus global enterprises, more than 30 Fortune 500 companies among them. I am delighted to introduce Mr. Pradeep, a highly experienced trainer with 28 plus years of industry experience, including 22 years in information security and cybersecurity. He has worked with Fortune 100 clients across BFSI, ITES, telecom, and healthcare, with expertise in risk management, IT governance, BCPDR, and compliance frameworks such as ISO 27001, PCI DSS, SOC 2, HIPAA, and GDPR. Also, additionally, please note that we will be sharing a Google Form link in chat box 10 minutes before the session ends to claim your 1 hour CPE. The CPE will be issued to those only who fill the Google form. Best wishes to all the participants. Thank you. Pradeep sir, over to you. Please, sir.
Thank you, Deepthi. Uh, Welcome everyone. Okay, I think Deepthi summarized the career that I have. So it's been almost 8 to 10 years now that I've been associated with PCI DSS in various forms, where I've been a consultant. I have also done around complete audit and assessments, and uh, provided consulting services, as well as done third-party audits, and also been part of QSA organization. And currently, I am managing PCI DSS globally for a BPO that I am working for, uh, where I support around 70 plus clients to be PCI compliant. So that's the gist of what I am and what I have been doing. So, I would want that our session being more interactive. So you're free to stop me at any point, and for any clarifications that you have, I would be delighted to help you with those clarifications. Okay, so let me go to the presentation now. I hope my screen is visible.
No, not yet.
I can see it now.
Okay. So today we are just going to touch base on what PCI DSS is all about and why it is needed and for whom it is actually meant for and what are the key requirements. So we are going to summarize the whole standard in an hour, and it is just a prequel to something that we are going to introduce, which I will take you through when around the middle of the presentation. Okay, so this is just a gist of what GISA Council is going to provide to the audience. Okay, so as part of PCI DSS, the whom it is meant for, it is for IT companies, financial institutions who are dealing with card data, operational organizations who are going to process or store card data, and companies that are looking at compliance of PCI DSS requirements, where we'll see in terms of securing the whole card environment and also ensuring compliance to the environment that hosts the card data. So the standard that we are going to look at now, which is version 4.0.1, has been effective from 2024, and March of 2025 is when it was mandated that people move uh, to the newer version. We will see what we are going to cover as part of this. So the whole intent of PCI DSS is, as it mentions below, it is to protect the card data. Okay. So I think I'll go as slow as I can so that it's clear to everyone on what I'm covering. At any point in time, please stop me and clarify any questions that you have. I would want to reiterate that because I want this session to be as effective as it can be. Okay, so what are we going to touch point as in the next 1 hour? So we are going to see in a very general way what PCI DSS is, what its background is, the history, and why it is there. And we are going to see the reason why it matters. Okay, and who must comply to the requirements of PCI DSS. What are its key requirements, and we'll go to the Q&A and takeaway sessions in the end of the call. Okay, so that is what we're going to cover as part of this webinar. So moving forward, what PCI DSS is. So the whole purpose that PCI DSS came into existence, which is nothing but the payment card industry data security standard. That is what PCI DSS stands for. And as part of the standard, it came into existence because of multiple card data breaches and payment frauds that were happening. So the main entities that manage PCI DSS or the PCI Council is the 5 brands, which is Visa, Master, Amex, Discover, and JCB. So they came together to bring in the standard so that the environment where the card data is either stored, processed, or transmitted, complies to the standard and is certified so that to ensure that the security of the card data is maintained. Okay, so this is the whole purpose of how PCI DSS, the standard, came into existence. It is the collaboration of the 5 brands that I just mentioned, which is Visa, Master, Amex, Discoverer, and JCB. So The current version which is there came into existence around 2024, as I mentioned, and it was as of 31st March of 2025, the companies who were following the older version, which is mentioned below, which is 3.2.1, they had to move to 4.0. 4.0 is what was the initial version, and then they had certain amendments which they made, where they made certain controls which was good to have to mandatory in the version 4.0.1. The whole standard came into existence around 2004, in the formation of the PCI Council, which, as I mentioned, is the collaboration of the 5 brands which I mentioned above. And this is initially, it all started in the US, where the standard was implemented, and then it became a global requirement wherever wherever the usage of the 5 brands were there. That is in terms of Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, JCB. If these cards were used globally, then they started ensuring the standard was implemented across. So now it is, across the globe, across companies which are, maybe a multinational or any company which is either storing or processing or transmitting the card data. Okay, so it could be that they're doing all the 3, or it could be they are doing any one of these 3, or it could be in combination of any of these 3. So which is storing, processing, and transmitting. So that is the whole essence to which PCI DSS, the standard, came into existence. So any questions or any clarification for this particular? This is the base. So this is where it started off. So any questions or any clarifications that anyone would want to have?
I have a
Oh.
question, Pradeep.
Yeah.
I see that you put several brands of the credit card that saying that this security standard is mandated by them. Are they only the few brands that require to do this standard, or there are more that are applicable, but it is a personal option to choose whether to be compliant with this data security standard?
That's a nice question, actually. So, like in India, we have one brand, payment brand by the name RuPay. Okay, now RuPay is not part of the 5 brands that has formed the PCI Council, but there are companies where RuPay is used, but they use PCI DSS as a security standard. See, it's not a regulation that it has, it is a law that it needs to be implemented. It is a standard which is good to be implemented because it has all the required controls and requirements which will help you to protect the card data. So I know of companies where they have RuPay as the payment brand, but still they have implemented PCI standard. Uh, See, it is on them if they want to be certified as per PCI requirements. But from a compliance standpoint, you can implement PCI DSS standard because it is a very comprehensive technology as well as process-oriented standard, which helps you to secure the card environment. I
Okay,
hope I have answered your question.
If I understand correctly, this is like a standard that can be applicable to multiple regions across the whole world. But so far, like you can choose, like the credit card company, they can choose whether to follow this standard or not.
That's right.
Okay, But for Visa, Mastercard,
in
is
case,
very widespread use one. They have already required this standard to be done for their firms per year.
that's right. So in case you are using any of these 5 brands, you will have to, okay, because it is a mandate.
Okay.
In case it is Visa, Master, Amex, Discover, or JCB, then it's a mandate. Any
Mhm.
other brand, it is a choice.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
Okay. Okay, I'll move forward. Why it matters? So, in general, any standard you can take it as either PCI DSS or an ISO or HIPAA or name any standard that is existent. Now you have a lot of standards for AI, responsible AI and all that stuff. You take any standard. The core value or the core that they look for is, when you say why should I, invest in compliance to a particular standard, the whole thing comes to what you see on screen now. Okay, it is one to ensure, we minimize breaches, because it is always better to be compliant to a certain standard as per organizational requirements rather than go through a whole breach process. In my experience till now, I have had the pain of going through 2 breaches. So I know how it feels to, and the kind of cost that is involved in terms of the fine that you pay, to the reputations that you're trying to mend, and the legalities that you go through, and the kind of evidences that you need to provide to ensure, to showcase that you have come out of the breach, and the system that we have is protected, and it is, all the controls are implemented. That's a lot of pain. It is always, as they always say, it is better to be precautionary than trying to uh, you know go through a storm, once a breach hits your organization. So so the whole purpose on why we should have, why should we invest in doing PCI DSS for an organization which deals with card data? The whole purpose is, one of the main reasons is the breach, that is, the cost that you incur post a breach, then the reputational damage, as it mentions there, to go through, convincing your customers that you have come far away from the breach that you have encountered. Then then you have a lot of legal battles. Then there are clients who have got impacted, would come with their legal team to, for the loss that they have had for, due to a breach that has happened, and the financial penalties. So the council also puts in penalties. The clients that have gone through the breach, who has got impacted to the breach, also have their own penalties. So, to avoid all that, it is always better. Do you want to go through, as the smaller lines, it says, do you want to have a business impact, or do you want to be compliance driven? Okay, so it is always better to
Hi,
be
Pradeep.
Hello.
I'm sorry. Yeah, hi, Pradeep. Vikram this side.
Yeah, Vikram.
Hello.
Yeah, Vikram.
Yeah, I just have one query. You just said there is a penalty. I mean, I keep hearing this penalty, which has become a buzzword very often now.
Yeah.
As any of the companies or the clients which you have been handling or managing, had anybody been penalized during your career tenure, which you have come across? If you could
Yes,
able to
yes.
throw some highlight on that, it will be great. Thank you.
Yes, sure, Vikram. So, yes, as I mentioned, during my tenure, I have gone through the pain of handling 2 breaches. In both the cases, the organization, the 4 points that are mentioned over there. One, the breach cost. You know, we have as an internal team, it is always a struggle to convince why we should invest in certain components so that we can secure the environment. Post the breach, that is when they understood the whole impact that the organization had because of what the card data that got exposed. And so we had to put in a lot of controls so that that suited up the cost on implementing on infrastructure, and also in the processes that we had to change. Penalties, yes, the organization had to uh, pay the client as well as the council in terms of I think, to how I remember, it was around 2% of the annual revenue, what they had to pay as a penalty uh, to the PCI Council, and also for the clients that got impacted, we had to pay uh, due to the legal processes that was there thereafter. So in both the cases, this happened, and it's a huge amount, that the organization had to shell out. Apart from that,
I presume they were PCA, they were PCA non-compliant.
yeah, yeah, it was because if we were, if all the controls were in place, I don't think the breach would have happened. So there were data which was stolen and also put in the black market. So that is how it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and also the last point that I was going to put forward was the reputational damage. Due to the whole thing, it came on the media, and the company ended up losing some of the clients. And once you lose a client, it is very difficult to get back. So that also happens. So that is why it matters. So I think post that whole incident, that is when the management also woke up on the need for the seriousness around the requirement of being compliant to a certain requirement. So
Yeah, I'm just sorry to ask you, just add on to it. During which year this happened, if you don't mind?
okay,
Is it
this was
pre-COVID or post-COVID?
okay. That is, I think it is easier to answer that way. It was pre-COVID.
Pre-COVID, okay.
Yeah,
So we are talking about somewhere between 2012, 15, around that time.
yeah, it should have been around that.
Thank you.
So see, in one experience, I was an auditee. Okay, that means I was at the receiving end. And in the other experience, I was part of the investigation. So that is how it was. Because I was part of a QSA organization, so we were part of the investigation. So, okay. So moving forward, then coming up to for whom this compliance is a requirement. Okay. So from an entity standpoint, the scope of PCI comes up to the merchant. Okay, so the merchant is someone who is accepting, or who is going to provide you the card data. It's mostly the banks, the business establishments that provides the card data. Okay, and the organizations who actually store all this information, either in as part of their in-store, or or business establishments like Amazon, or these parties who are accepting your card information. It could be either in-store in terms of POS devices, or online, online through your Amazon portal and all those things, or over the phone. You can now place orders through phone. So merchants are organizations who are accepting the card data for the business that they are into. Okay, so those are merchants. Then you have service providers. These are third-party organizations, who work for other organizations. Like it could be a BPO or a KPO, or it could be a aggregator, or it could be a data center provider. Where the data are either stored, processed, or transmitted. So they are people who work on behalf of a merchant. So like the current setup that I am working out of, where we are a service provider. We support multiple organizations in processing the card payments, and in certain cases storing the card payments, and even transmitting the card payments. Okay, so this is the next set of entities that come into the scope of PCI DSS. And then you have your cloud and hosting providers, okay, where you are hosting the infrastructures. Now most of them are using cloud services. Okay, and when you say hosting providers, is like the data centers where the servers and network devices are placed, through which the card information is either stored, transmitted, or processed. So those entities also come under the scope of PCI. That is why you would see that the cloud providers, like you have Google, you have AWS, you have Azure. They are all certified for PCI DSS, and you also have data centers, multiple data centers. So they are also certified for PCI DSS, because the servers could be hosted there. Then you have the main providers, that is the financial institutions, where you have the banks, the card processors, acquirers, issuers. Then you also have companies that produces the card, the card itself. So all these financial institutes, should also be certified. So if you really look at the chain, how it really goes through. The financial institutions, they need to be compliant to the standard. As part of their compliance, they would be having merchants who are using those brands. So when I say banks, it is those 5 brands, where they would be either using Visa card, they would be either providing Visa card, Mastercard, Discoverer, JCB, or there's now if they are any of these 5 brands, if they are using, they would be required to be compliant to PCI. And as part of that, the merchants would be required. As part of that, the service providers would be required, and also as part of that, the cloud providers. So all these are connected. So say if a service provider is providing his or their PCI certificate to a merchant, the merchant would, as part of their compliance, and the merchant, as part of their compliance, would be providing to either one of these financial institutions. So, that is how the whole entity in scope comes into picture. Any questions over there? So, the main is the financial institutions, then the next layer is the merchants, and then you have the service providers and the cloud and hosting providers. So see, these are the entities that come into the scope of PCI.
So the 5 members that you said are falls under the category of merchants.
No, they are the payment brands. So these Visa, Mastercard, Amex, Discover, and JCB are the brands. And if the bank is using any of these brands, then they have to be compliant.
So they are not merchants.
No, merchants are like Amazon, Flipkart. Then you have any online online e-commerce site. Okay. Then in case like you have Naptol in India, where they take orders over the phone. So if you are doing payment over the phone, so those are merchants. who are
So, but
accepting
every
the card payment.
but every company sells its products on its website, and there will be
Yeah, so
payment
they,
option, right?
yeah. So they come into the picture of merchants.
Then what is cardinal payment?
Which one?
Cardinal payment.
No, I am not aware of cardinal payment. So if you could maybe explain what cardinal payment is, maybe I'll say if it comes under scope. So,
It processes all these cards, MX, Visa, Mastercard.
so they fall under financial institutions. So they are nothing but acquirers. Okay, so what they do is they, uh, the processing on behalf of banks. So they take all the transactions that the merchants do. They come to these institutions. They do the end of day processing and all that stuff. Okay, so they also work on behalf of the banks and institutes. So that is why they come into picture. So where they do the reconciliation and all that stuff.
So if I as a company is selling products on my website, do I need to be PCI DSS certified, or the cards, the providers are mandated to be certified?
No, you will also be required to be certified for PCI for a very simple reason. You will fall under the branch of a merchant who is accepting card payments on your website. So you might have a payment gateway somewhere where the payment will be getting processed. Okay, but still your portal is is used for providing that information of the card or accepting the card information.
But these card providers are already PCI DSS certified. They are secure, right?
Yeah,
Like
they
MX,
are.
Visa.
Yeah, they are. So all the payment gateways, if you see, are also certified for to PCI DSS. So as part of your certification, you will also uh, ask for their PCI certificate, which will be attached as part of your assessment process.
So in which
Like in
bucket? In which
Yeah,
bucket it?
simple terms, as per RBI, whoever is associated directly, indirectly in terms of accepting card data with regard to the payment has to be compliant and certified as required. It's simple as that.
That's right. So they'll fall under the branch of financial institutions.
So this Google Pay, Apple Pay will fall into which category?
The financial, because see, they are more of that as we call aggregators. So they take the information on behalf of the merchant and they do the processing, and then they will work with the banks in terms of reconciliation of the transactions, and they will provide you with the success or not success in terms of the transaction that happened, the transaction status as such. They fall under the aggregators, which will be part of the financial institution bucket that is out there.
Mufidia,
Yeah,
when
Mufid,
we say that merchant should be PSI, DSS, what you call
certified.
certified, to do merchant comes in the like a PO where we have given a bank has given a POS to a merchant or a store. Will it consider as a merchant, or will it how we are going to consider that thing?
There will also be merchants.
But how they
Like
are supposed to be,
if you see here, any business accepting payment cards in store. In store is nothing but your POS devices.
yes.
Online, okay,
Hmm.
where you have e-commerce, and over
Hmm.
the phone. It could be any of this format.
How come
So
they can, means how means like small stores like restaurants and all, they are using also POS systems, so they need to be PCI DSS compliant as well. I'm no, it's
no,
like
no, 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 no.
huh.
No, they don't. But
Yes.
the POS organization, that the organization that provides the POS device, they
Huh.
would be certified.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Like you have Pfizer and you have Pine Labs. So Pfizer and Pine Labs need to be certified.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
In continuation to what he said, what happens to a restaurant which accepts the payment? Or should they
It's a,
certify? Or should they get certified?
no, 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 no. It is the POS device provider who has to be certified. Because they all fall in the same bucket, right?
Can I say in a simple
See,
term, if a merchant is not storing or processing the card data, they should not be compliant. Their PCI, their
yeah,
POS machine has to be compliant with that, right? Because they are not storing
that's
or
right.
processing the card data, so they don't need to be compliant. But their device provider has to be compliant so that whatever the card is getting processed, it is in a compliance manner.
Absolutely right. So the three key pillars for getting into compliance is storage, processing, and transmitting. If you're not doing any of these three things, then you need not be compliant. I think that was rightly summarized. Is there any other clarification? Okay. Now, moving forward to what level of certification is required for any organization, that is either processing, storing, or transmitting card data. For merchants, there is different set of norms. For service providers, there are certain different set of norms. So for merchants, there are 4 different levels depending on the number of card transactions. So generally, when we say transaction, it is not any transaction that involves card data. Okay, so if it is 6 million and above in a year, then a merchant needs to be level 1 certified, which means that they need to be certified by a QSA organization, and also that they have to have the ASV, that is the security vulnerability scanning that happens, has to be done by a third party ASV provider. So generally, a QSA organization will also have an ASV uh, setup where they would do the vulnerability scanning. Okay, so this is the requirement for level 1. If you're processing, storing, or transmitting 6 million and above. Okay, above 6 million a year is when you need to do a level 1 certification. In case you're doing somewhere between 1 to 6 million transaction in a year, then you can do a self-assessment, which is known as SAQ. Okay. Plus, you have to also ensure that you do the ASV scan by a third-party vendor. Okay. So on what you will do an ASV scan, it is on all those components which are publicly accessible. Okay, only that setup needs to be certified. Okay, where we will run a VA scan by a ASV provider, and they will do the scan. Level 3 comes into picture if you are doing 20,000 to 1 million e-commerce transactions. So this is applicable to e-commerce websites where the number of transaction is between 20K to 1 million transaction in a year. Then you can do a self-assessment. Okay, so SAQ is nothing but self-assessment questionnaire, and you also have you also need to perform the quarterly ASV scan mandatorily. Then you are level 4, where you are having transactions which is less than 20K from a e-commerce perspective, and from other merchants where you have 1 million transaction for any other establishment who, as a merchant, but not a e-commerce platform, then you need to at least do an annual self-assessment. But ASV is not mandatory, but it is recommended.
Pradeep,
Yeah.
uh, just just to understand a bit deeper, you know, does, let's say I were to be a merchant and I disclose, I mean, I become I do the SAQ, and does the penalty do apply to me as well?
Yeah. So okay, I'll put it this way. Uh, the organizations that where we had breaches, right, where I encountered breaches, we were PCI compliant. Okay, we PCI compliant is that we were certified for PCI, but there were some reasons, where somebody got access to customer card information and it got leaked. Okay, so in that picture, still the breach clause is mandated and it's applicable, and penalties are also applicable. So it is that you are showing you're compliant, but still you have a breach and you have exposure where card data has got exposed, the penalty is applicable. So penalty
Okay.
is something which you will not be able to you know get away with. Uh, if there is a data leakage, there
Please
is penalty.
don't mistake me otherwise. But
Yeah,
within the brackets, just what I've understood and learned over a period of time in the market space, uh, the companies do get compliance certification when it comes to penalties, the word used. But in reality, it never happens. And I've also seen that the breach also even happens, and then they don't even open up, to be very precise. Over and above that, the fraud happens as well. It's one
absolutely.
or two
I
cases
know.
like the ATMs of the world which happens also.
No, I understand. I understand where you're coming from.
So I am just trying to understand as an outsider for a while, 2 points here. One, either the PCA compliant, the standard itself is not that much, it doesn't have that weightage, where like no things has to be very serious and taken not taken for granted. Yeah, it is at the same time is that weak that no anything can happen. Though it gets certified, don't get certified, son, anything can happen.
Yeah. So
And I also understand in the meantime that now what are the mediators are doing, whether it is implementers, certified, you mentioned some QS and all. I don't understand what those
QSA.
people, yeah, all these people will be doing in that case.
Yeah. So see, as I was mentioning, as an investigator, I was part of a QSA organization where, but in both cases where I was involved, the penalty did get applied. But yeah, as you mentioned, there are cases where they get away with it, but but then it is about how they showcase on. So there are cases where where a breach would have happened, but they showcase that it was not because of any control gaps that they had, but it could be somewhere else. So there are so many things that happens. But yeah, in a practical world, there are companies which get away with the penalties, and in the cases that I was involved, we couldn't get away. So I have seen both the organizations paying up to the council. Because from a PCI standpoint, what happens is the council appoints a totally different organization to do the investigation. So the auditing company also gets penalized for not checking the controls in an appropriate manner, and also the organization where the leakage happened, they also get penalized. So it did happen. So yeah, that was my experience.
Well, nice to bring it to our notice, but I doubt and suspect at the same time, post-COVID era, anything of this sort would have happened and would have even got implications, to be very precise.
At least I have not come to any to notice on any of these things. At least on it, as you mentioned in the recent past. But yeah, uh, for the two incident that I was involved, it was a different situation altogether.
Because it's a post-COVID era only, we are talking about security, fraud, and compliant and all these
Absolutely.
buzzwords. And people are trying to be more serious than they were supposed to be otherwise. And in this due course, nothing might have happened. It is a big question mark over there.
Absolutely, because when the whole concept of work from home came into picture, and to ensure in my current organization we still have uh, processes which work from home and they process card data. So we have controls implemented to ensure that the card data is not misused. So, and we had occasions where people tried copying the card data, but we had controls like camera monitoring and a lot of other DLPs and a lot of other things put into picture, by which we did take action on individuals who try to misuse the privilege they had. Okay, so from a merchant level, I hope it is clear, right? Because it's a very clear-cut thing. If you are processing a certain transaction and above a certain level is there, it's only in the case of a level one where a QSA organization comes into picture. From level two to level four, the organization has the choice, if they have the team, to do it internally and to be self assessed. If not, they can engage a QSA to do the SAQ or the self assessment on their behalf. That is also a possibility. Okay, if you think you don't have the team to do the self assessment, then you can hire a QSA to do the same activity. Okay, but in that case, it will not be a level one. It will still be a level two. It's just that a QSA is helping you with that activity. So that is how uh, the merchant levels are. In the same way, we have levels for service providers. Why I have kept it separately is, as a service provider, the number of transactions are lesser. Okay, so it is around 300,000 transactions per year and above. You need to have a QSA come and do the audit and certification. And in case of a self-assessment or a level two, it is less than 300,000 transactions a year. Okay, so it is basically as a larger organizations where uh, they do that many transactions in a year. Okay, and generally smaller or boutique or some niche payment facilitators which provide smaller business, they can do self-assessment. And in both cases, the ASV is mandatory. Okay, because uh, so when you do ASV, it is done by approved scanning vendor where they do a VA scan on your public facing infrastructure, and they see if there is any vulnerability in those systems. Okay, and in both cases, your annual scanning and testing is also mandatory. Okay, uh, so that and then in level one you get an ROC and AOC. In level two you have an SAQD and AOC which is provided. AOC is nothing but your attestation of compliance, which will be a summary of your SAQD, which is your self-assessment D. Uh, so that is the tag they have given for a service provider. And an ROC is nothing but a report of compliance, which is generally a 300 to 600 pager or sometimes even 1,000 plus pager report which goes in detail from every network server and endpoints that is there part of the whole scope of PCI DSS uh, is covered as part of level 1. Okay, so from a merchant point of view, you have 4 levels, and a service provider point of view, you have 2 levels. Any questions here? Okay, so I'll just move forward. So what do we define as a card data? Okay, so that is what we are going to look at here. And what you can store and what we cannot store is another component that we are going to look. So when we say card data from a PCI standpoint, it is the complete 16 or 15, depending on the brands, the digits might differ. So it is nothing, it is also called a PAN, which is the primary account number. So it is the card number, the magnetic strip or the chip that you have on the card, the cardholder name, then you have the expiry date, and you also have the CVV or CVC number that is there. It's either a 4-digit or a 3-digit number that is there behind the card, or it could be even in the front of the card depending on the brand. So all these things comprising together is called a card data. Okay. So from that perspective, okay, it is either called card data or you have acronym there called CHD, which is nothing but card holder data. Then you have something called an SAD. Okay, that is nothing but sensitive authentication data, which is nothing but your CVV, your magnetic strip data, your chip data. All these things fall under the SAD. Okay, so SAD is nothing but sensitive authentication data. Okay, then you have the magnetic strip, or we say track, or the pin, which is there, which is stored as part of your magnetic strip, or the chip that you have on your card. All these things is encompassed as a sensitive authentication data. Okay, so in this, the things that you can store is your card data, your customer or the cardholder name, your service code. So all this card has a service code which will be there in the front or sometimes even in the back, and the expiry. These things you can store. Okay. So while storing, you need to ensure that it is protected. Okay, especially the card date, card number needs to be protected either through encryption or via masking, or now you have tokenization. Okay, there are different mechanisms. So you can use any of the mechanisms to uh, secure the card number. It cannot be stored in clear. That is a requirement. Okay, so while masking, either you can, for masking, the only norm that they have is either the first 6 and the last 4, or just the last 4, or the entire set of card data. It is upon the organization on how we want to mask. Okay, generally first 6 and last 4 is used, or just the last 4 is used, and the rest of the digits are masked. Okay, now coming to the sensitive authentication data, that is the full magnetic strip or the chip data or the CVV number that you have, these cannot be stored post authorization. So while using, you can use for authorizing a payment, but once the payment is authorized, any organization that is there cannot store this information. Any questions here? Because this is the key to the whole standard. What we are trying to protect is the card data. So the first component is what is the card data, what comprises or what we call the cardholder data or an SAD, which is the sensitive authentication data. Because the cardholder data has a different set of norms for storage, and then your SAD has a separate norms for storage. SAD you shouldn't store post an transaction is authorized. Cardholder data can be stored where it has to be protected with encryption, and masking needs to be enabled when it comes to the full card number. So this is the gist of what is there over here. Because if this is clear, then the rest of the things are very much, it would be a breeze actually. Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
so
move
yes,
forward.
superior. So when we say
Yeah,
encryption, right, for cardholder name and service code, so whatever data which is stored at financial institute should be encrypted, or is it fine if we store as it is?
no, it cannot be stored as it is. Okay, not only financial institutions, the merchants, service providers, or cloud providers, wherever it is stored. In case card data is stored, it has to be encrypted, with a strong algorithm. So we have one particular requirement which is on the key management itself, on on encryption and key management.
The key
Like
management is
like
fine.
like the one which is mentioned on screen, requirement 3 is on storage. Okay, so as part of that, it clearly states the different requirements around it.
Mr.
Yeah,
Pradeep, so there are two types of encryptions, right? One is that on transit and on what you call on rest. So
yeah,
encryption is in place for transit, okay, but at rest it is not there. So is it not non-complying for
yeah,
PCI DSS?
yeah, that it is. It has to be at rest also. It has to be encrypted.
So it's a mandatory clause for PCI DSS.
Yeah, it is a mandatory.
Got it.
Okay,
How many years of data can be at rest, if I were to understand?
that depends on the organization's retention requirements. Like I don't know if banks, if I'm right, it's 7 years if I'm right. So it is on organization. It
It
is on the
also means that it can't be deleted.
yeah, it cannot. It shouldn't be, right? That is the whole retention policy that you would have.
Correct, correct, correct. No, no, I got it. What I'm trying to understand is, like, as he was referring that no, data at rest also has to be encrypted. I also presume that no, it can't be even deleted as well. So his
Yeah,
question
yeah,
was that no, even data at rest has to be encrypted or not. But I am saying that no, the data which is there at rest that has to be stored and kept.
yeah. It has to be stored as per your retention policy.
Fair.
So there are, like in my current setup, there are organizations which require 7 years. There are organizations 9 years. There are organizations for 2 years, 6 months. So we keep purging as required. Yeah.
Purging means after the what you call storage
After
requirement
the retention.
or
Yeah.
after the
After
retention period?
retention period. Yeah.
Okay.
See, in some cases, we have the privilege to purge. In some cases, on a secure channel, we transfer it to the client itself. So it differs from case to case basis. So on a secure FTP channel, we transfer the data to the to the client, to the customer client itself. So that depends on the requirement. Okay.
I have another question, Pratik.
Yeah.
These storage rules is actually referring the data, this bank transaction data saved in which repository? By the card, by the merchandisers? Or is the
It could.
is the bank who issue those cards?
It's not only to the banks. It's like, let me take you to that screen. One sec. So use entities in scope I mentioned, right? Merchants, service providers, cloud hosting providers, and financial institutions. It's applicable to all.
Also, for all these entities in scope, they only retain this data mentioned there.
That's right. That's right. It is applicable to all of it.
Okay. Even for the bankers that issue the card itself, they can only store this.
Yes. Even when they store the information, it has to comply to these requirements.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Now, one of the key requirements that PCI DSS looks for is network segmentation. Okay. So the general terminologies that is used is CDE, which is the card data environment, or and then you have non-CDE, which is the support systems which ensures that the card data environment is functioning smoothly, and then you have out of scope. Okay, so when we take any PCI into scope, okay, when we are trying to do the scoping of a PCI engagement, any component, that is any component, either it could be server, network, or endpoints, which are within the CDE environment and also the non-CDE environment, is considered as a PCI scope. Anything which is outside of this environment is considered as out of scope. They need not have the obligation of implementing the PCI controls. So anything which is there within the CDE and the non-CDE, you need to ensure that PCI controls are implemented. Now, what would come under a CDE environment? Okay, so it could be your POS terminals. Okay, then your payment application servers, your databases which store card data, your encryption or HSMs which are used for key generations. Okay, then your tokenization servers, then all your infrastructure like servers, network devices, your uh, uh, endpoints which is used for processing the card information. All these things comes under the cardholder data environment. And then you have your non-CDEs, which are your DMZs, your load balancers, your uh, SIM servers, your log aggregators, your corporate VLAN through which the network flows, and then you have your patch servers, your antivirus servers. Those components will come under non-CDE. Then you have your out of scope, which is your other systems like your HR systems, your finance systems, your email servers, or your corporate Wi-Fi network, the developer workstations. All those things would come under your out of scope systems. Now, how PCI is structured and why network segmentation I have put as one slide is, this is the process by which you will minimize the scope of PCI DSS rather than, because by minimizing the scope, one, you are isolating the whole PCI environment, by which from a business standpoint, it is, it has, you minimize your cost implications, and from a technology standpoint, you are segregating uh, the environment on which you have to apply your controls uh, to a very minimal or a smaller environment rather than taking the entire organization into the scope. Okay, so I think what I'm saying is also there as Y segment. If you see, it has all those aspects that I'm mentioning. Okay, so by segregating the network, it helps you to deploy the adequate controls as required by PCI on the applicable environment alone, rather than applying the whole set of controls across, which has a huge cost implications. Okay, not only cost, it is also on effort in maintaining the certificate and the compliance around it. So in the scope of PCI, you will have all the components which are there under CD environment and the components which are there in the non-CD environment. And how it functions. Okay, now you have CD, non-CD, and out of scope. Anything which is in out of scope, okay, cannot directly communicate with a CD environment. Okay, if they have to communicate, like a developer trying to put in an application on a CD network, he has to go through a jump server which would be implemented on a non-CD environment. So they have to take that hop to do any kind of activity. Or a system administrator which is sitting on a non-CD environment or on an out-of-scope environment has to go through the non-CD environment to do any work to, maybe to fix a machine or to fix something on a CD environment. They have to do a jump, they need to have something in between which is there in these non-CD. So there can be a two-way communication between out of scope and a non-CD environment. There can be a two-way communication between non-CD and CD, but there can be no communication between CD and out of scope. Okay, so that is the whole way the structure is implemented. I know you will have questions in this particular slide, so maybe I would want to clear that before we go to the next one. Any questions here? So let me
Yeah,
reiterate. Yeah, please.
yeah, sorry. Hey, Vivek here. I just have a question around where are we like performing the test for segmentation? As in, is it from a non-CD to CD? We are checking for segmentation being implemented properly, or is it from a out of scope to a non-CD, or like how is it?
Okay, that's a very good question. So when we do segmentation PT, which is one of the requirements of PCI, okay, so the test is done two-way. From a non-CD to CD, can we directly get, are they getting access? Okay, and from a CD to out of scope. Okay, see, because communication is there between CD and non-CD, so you will have communication happening between these two zones. Okay, so generally when we do a segmentation PT or segmentation test, it is from a CD environment to out of scope, and we do a test between out of scope to CD. So in these two cases, there should not be a direct communication.
So, Mr. Pradeep Mufid here. If
Yeah.
you are handling any application which is used for managing a card data, okay, and it is accessed through a PC but using PAM, okay, so the PAM is considered as a non-CD system, or it will be like out of scope system.
Yeah, it will. Your the system which is used for processing the card, it will be under CD.
Hmm?
Your application which is there will be under CD.
Hmm?
Okay, but the component. So when you say PAM, is it something which will be also accessed by an out of scope system?
Yes, no, means out of scope system will be there in between, right? Between accessing application and out of scope means,
Yeah.
for example, a system is in domain of company. So will it be considered as an out of scope system or will it be considered as non-CDA system?
No, domain controller will come under non-CD because you will not have multiple domain controller for an out of scope, separate for out of scope and CD.
Yes.
Okay, the common ones. Domain controller is a common server, so it will be under non-CD, where
Hmm.
out of scope also can access and systems under CD also can access.
So
So
my yeah.
your domain controller will be in the non-CD zone.
Hmm.
Okay, and your endpoint and the application server will be in the CD zone. Okay, so that is how it will be.
Endpoint like your what do you call
The system where
antivirus and
they
so on.
are, the system where the person is working on.
That's the,
The,
that's my Pradeep, that's my question. No? For example, a PC is there in a company
mm,
organization, okay, domain in the company domain. So will it be that
mm.
that PC should be considered as CD or non-CD?
The PC will be CD because it is used for doing payment processing.
Okay, but we have one more layer, right? Like PAM access. Okay, so privilege access management system is there between that application means that workstation and that application. So still it will be considered as CD.
No, the privileged access management will be in your non-CD because even systems in the out of scope will also have access to that. Okay, so the communication will be from the CDE, it will go to the privilege management access system, which is in the non-CD. From there, it will communicate to your application server, which is again will be in the CD.
Yeah, could you please explain again? I didn't get this point.
So the PC, which is where the individual is working,
Hmm.
right, that will be in the CD zone
Okay.
because the
But,
person
but
is doing some payment processing.
got it.
Okay, his payment, his privileges are managed in the PAM system that you have, right? So that particular information will be taken from the system, which will be deployed in the non-CD zone because it is a common server which will be used by either systems which are in the CD zone or system which are in the out of scope zone.
Got it.
Okay, the common servers will be put in the non-CD. Okay, and the application server where which is where the where the payment is getting processed, that will be also in the CD zone. So you will have a communication between the CD and non-CD.
Got it.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Hmm.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Okay, multiple questions. One is the email servers are out of scope, but let's say the credit card details are there in the emails, which will be there in the email server. So any card, even a single card detail being there, do we have this out of scope or we
No,
can have it?
in that case, it will come in the non-CD zone.
Okay, then there are two more questions. Thank you. One
Okay.
is when is this magnetic card related information going to be obsolete, or will it continue for another few years?
That depends on the brands.
No, the
That
brand,
depends on the
is it
brand
is
or
it
the
a
bank.
no? I tell you what is the reason I'm asking is the
Hmm.
magnetic media is subject to wear and tear, and they lose the magnetization. So,
Right.
is it something worthy?
That's a question which, see, from a PCI standpoint, it doesn't say if it is worthy or not. It is on the brand or on the banks that implement that uh, thing on their card, right? Now, I think
Because
that
I feel
there,
that
I think
this card, chip based was started to replace the magnetic. Is that not
that's
correct?
right. That's right. That it
Then
is
it's not
replacing.
getting replaced for the last 5 to 8 years. I can see that.
Again, that's on the banks to take a call if they want to replace. I think some of them have replaced, some are still continuing, but I think
Okay.
that is how what
So
PCI does is,
it is happening, but in slow speed.
yeah, yeah. What PCI does
Okay.
is under
Hmm.
as per requirement 3, it gives you norms. Uh,
Hmm.
it gives you norms in case trip is there, what all controls you need to put in place. If chips are there, what all controls you need to put in place. Those information is there as part of the requirements.
Okay. One last question. This current
Yeah.
version is 1 year old. Is it due to change because this keeps changing? Then we get certified in one version, and then it becomes difficult to justify the later version. Is this due for change, or it is
Not
there for
now.
another period?
It
Not
will be
now.
there for few more years. They might do smaller amendments where some which is good to have might become mandatory. No, those things might happen, but see, even from 3.2.1 to 4.0.1, there is not a major change. Okay. Uh, some good to haves have become mandatory. That is what has really happened. Okay. And some
Okay.
controls which had a smaller scope have now increased the scope. So that is how those are the changes that has happened.
Okay. One last I remember, and that is surely last. The Wi-Fi being out of scope. But if I'm using maybe some device with Wi-Fi and trying to make the payment,
Yeah.
how that is going to be understood in the scope, in scope or
Okay.
out scope?
No, that will, in case you are using the Wi-Fi to transmit card data, so
Hmm.
you will not do it via the corporate Wi-Fi. So there are Wi-Fi related controls recommended where as part of requirement 1, yeah, which is on network security. So as part of that, there are controls for Wi-Fi where you will have separate SSID and uh, there are key requirements that you need to have,
Yeah.
and you need to implement encryption, end-to-end encryption within that protocol as well. So,
Okay. Thank you so much.
yeah. Okay, I think I'll move forward now. Okay, now basis whatever we have seen till now. Okay, so it is what PCI is, why it is required, what card data is, okay, and last what we saw is network segmentation. Okay, all these things once clearly, why network segmentation I took is because that is where your scope gets defined. Once your scope is defined, then the applicability of the requirements come into picture. There are totally 12 PCI requirements, which is grouped under 6 goals. Okay, like you can see the 6 goals here, like build and maintain secure network. Then you have protect card data, maintain vulnerability management program, implement strong access control, monitoring and testing, and the last is the information security policy. Okay, in that, the first 6 requirements are very technology oriented. Okay, that is why I say PCI is technical as well as functional, process oriented standard, where the first 6 controls are technical, the next 6 controls are more of process, okay, oriented, in which requirement 1 takes care of your network security, wherein your firewalls, routers, switches, Wi-Fi, all the network infrastructure comes into picture in terms of what we need to do to secure that environment. Requirement 2 is on secure configuration, where it talks about the password controls. It talks about your the default settings that the devices come with. Like you have Windows default, you have Linux default, you have firewall devices which have default username passwords, or all these default or different configurations. So it talks about configuring a server or a network device or an endpoint to ensure that the environment which either stores, processes, or transmits the card data is secure. The next requirement, which is requirement 3, which is on protect storage of card data. So this very specifically talks about if a card data is stored within your environment, what are the different things that you need to take care of. Okay, the transmission is taken care by requirement 4, which talks about the transmission requirements if the card data is transmitted over the network. It could be either intranet or through open internet or through IPsec or any format. If it is transmitted, then what are the controls that needs to be taken care of, from a encryption standpoint, and also from a data security standpoint. That is there as part of requirement 4. Requirement 5 takes care of your anti-malware. Till 3.2.1, it was called antivirus. Now they have broadened the whole scope to anti-malware, because now you have phishing attacks, you have different types of ransomware and all that different mechanisms. So they did not just uh, now they don't look for organization who just have an antivirus system implemented. You need to have an full-fledged anti-malware system implemented. So the controls around the whole concept is there in requirement 5. Requirement 6 takes care of in case the organization is indulging into developing applications which is used for either storing or transmitting or processing card data, then the whole SDLC process, and also it has a component on patch management in requirement 6. So these are all more of technical controls. Requirement 7 talks about access management. So the CD environment, what kind of access you will provide to different user groups. So that comes under the requirement 7. Requirement 8 talks about your multi-factor authentication. Okay, so and then user management and multi-factor authentication comes under requirement 8. Requirement 9 takes care of your physical security controls. Your CCTVs, your access logs, then the physical storage of backup. All these things is covered as part of requirement 9. Requirement 10 talks about logging and monitoring of the PCI in scope devices. So any devices which is there part of PCI environment or infrastructure needs to be uh, monitored using an SIEM solution. Okay. Requirement 11 talks about the different scanning and testing requirements. So PCI talks about internal VAPT, external VAPT, ASV scans. Then you have Wi-Fi security scans. Then if you are having in-house application, then you have your application security testing. And they have mentioned different periodicity in which you have to do these assessments. So all those things are covered as part of requirement 11. Then you also have your firewall rule set review, then your code review. All those things comes as part of requirement 11. Requirement 12 covers your security policies. incident management, then your HR verification, background verification, and the training requirements from an information security standpoint. That is a gist of all the requirements. Okay, so to be what I've done is I've put two more slides where I have just given a very high level insights what each of these requirements cover. Okay, from a network standpoint, which is requirement one, it takes care of your firewall, your other network components like your routers, switches, okay, in terms of secure configurations. Then it also ensures that these vendor default passwords are removed, and then your documentation around your network connectivity is also documented and stored in a very secured manner. Okay, so that is a very holistic coverage that the requirement one has. Requirement 2 talks about all the hardening standards from server, network, and endpoint point of view. Okay, then removal of all unnecessary services and functions. Okay, and your and how these configurations are managed. Okay, you might have a CMDB, or you could store it in a backup system, or anything that an organization prefers to do. Okay, from a data protection standpoint, you have storage requirements where it says that the card data, the norms that I mentioned about what you can store, what you cannot store, how it needs to be stored, the masking requirements, the encryption requirements, all these things are covered as part of requirement 3. And in case a data is getting transmitted over the network that is supported by your organization, then you need to have a TLS 1.2 and above implemented as part of your network. And also you need to ensure, like one gentleman asked about email. So the standard clearly talks that the card data in clear text should not be sent or never be sent using an SMS or an email or a chat uh, mechanism if you are supporting those. Okay, and you also need to maintain an inventory of all the transmission paths that you have. Okay, so that will be your either through a high-level network diagram or through the list of all the protocols that are using for transmitting the card data. That inventory also needs to be maintained. Okay, and as part of requirement 5, which is into malwares, so you need to deploy an anti-malware on all the systems that are part of the scope. And I think this is a general norm across every standard where you need to have it updated regularly. The scanning should be automated. The logs needs to be maintained. Then PCI now are very particular about anti-phishing because that is the one of the key methods used for gaining access. Okay, so anti-phishing needs to be implemented as part of your malware application that you have deployed. Okay, so that so different the controls around it are listed in requirement 5. Requirement 6 has two components. One covers the patching requirements for all the systems which are there within the PCI scope. So when I say PCI scope, it is the CD and non-CD systems that are there. Then it also mandates that you need to have a risk-based approach to to validate vulnerability and from a vulnerability that that requires patching. Then it also has components related to the secure coding practices, and it also as part of that it recommends the OASP top 20 you know, uh, to imbibe what OAS covers. So that is also there as part of the requirement. So these are
Can
the
I ask you a
technical.
quick question?
Yeah.
Anti-phishing mechanisms, can you give us more information? What are they?
So as part of your malware, malware protection that you have implemented, it the application should also have the facility to detect phishing attacks that are and also should be able to uh, alert when a phishing attack is conducted within the organization. So we, as part of that, what we do is, we have an internal team that tries to simulate phishing attack, where we would either send emails or do a call to a certain agent to see they fall for it or not.
So it's
And
basically end user training. That's what you're talking about, these
yeah,
mechanisms.
yeah, yeah, it's end user training, and also as part of your application, it has to alert if any phishing attack is happening.
No, but how can the system alert on a phishing attack? It's a user that, because technically,
Well,
I don't see how you can detect a phishing attack.
yeah, the one mechanism, as you mentioned, is training and simulations that we do. Okay. I think there are applications which which is which detects if there is any phishing attack that's happening within, maybe uh, via, if there are any mails that comes in, it goes through the verification if the mail is from an authentic
So you're
sender or
talking
any
about
of the.
threat intelligence feeds, stuff coming
That's right.
from known bad places, IP addresses,
That's
etc.
right.
That kind
That's
of.
right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Welcome. So I'll move on to requirement 7 to 12, which takes care of your access, monitoring, and policy. Where 7 is all about the role-based access and the whole. Even ISO talks about the least privilege mechanism. So this is also imbibed in PCI, where it is very specific to the card holder data environment. So any system or any user who has access to card data, then the whole role-based access or RBAC mechanism is defined, where the rights are provided accordingly. And as part of the requirement, it is a mandate that you do a review of the privileged users and the general users every 6 months. So that is a norm which is there as part of the requirement. Okay, so user access reviews are done. It could be a privileged user or a normal user. So, uh, so at minimum every 6 months. In the organization I am working, we do it every 3 months. So that is how we are doing it. Okay, so that's on the organization. But as per the standard, every 6 months is required. Requirement 8 talks about the implementation of multi-factor authentication. So till 3.2.1, multi-factor authentication was very much required if we are trying to access from an out-of-scope system to a CDE environment. Okay, so that is where multi-factor was required. But now from 4.0.1, it is a mandate that any system, it could be either from CD within the CDE or from non-CD or from out of scope. If they are having access to card data, they have to go through multi-factor authentication. So this is one place where the investment to implementing a solution is increased from investment standpoint, because uh, we have to implement multi-factor on each and every component which has access to card data. Okay. And one other thing which is this requirement covers is that you know it, you cannot have one ID used with multiple that is sharing of user IDs is cannot be done. And also one other key requirement that has changed is minimum password length has changed from 8 to 12. Okay, so with all the complexity requirements that are there, this is all covered as part of requirement 8. So if you are going to certify from the current version, then the password requirements is now minimum 12 uh, against the minimum which was 8 from in 3.2.1. Requirement 9 talks about the physical security requirements, which covers like your CCTVs and access logs. Okay, where access logs you need to maintain for at least 1 year, CCTV for 90 days. Uh, and access logs, again, they say we can have, see, 1 year is the requirement. We can have 3 months online and rest offline. So, no, and even from CCTV point of view, it can be 30 days online and rest offline. So, but 90 days is what is required for CCTV and 1 year for an access log. Okay. And it also talks about uh, if you are using a physical backup system, then the inventory of all the media that contains card data needs to be maintained and protected. So that is also one of the key requirements. And there's the controls around the visitor logs, any entry exit logs needs to be maintained. So those to the card data environment needs to be maintained. And one other thing is the environment where the cardholder data is there. It could be your server room, it could be your endpoint systems, needs to be physically segregated. It's not only physically segregation, even logical segregation is required, to environment which is hosting a card data wherever the card data is hosted, it has to be physically and logically segregated. Okay, which is a mandate. Then you have requirement 10, which covers all the SIM related controls where the logging of all the components which is in this CD environment has to be logged. It has to be maintained, retained for at least 12 months. Okay, like 3 months online and rest can be offline. And there should be an automated uh, so this is a new requirement. Before it was a good to have, but now it says that any alert, it has to provide an automated alerting mechanism for any suspicious activity. That is something which has become a mandate in 4.0.1. Before that, manual verification was also allowed, but now it is uh, an automated mechanism that is required. Okay. Uh, Requirement 11 talks about the testing requirements, as I mentioned, all the annual VAPTs, internal, external. Then intrusion detection systems needs to, and the controls around the implementation of either intrusion detections or in the prevention systems is provided in requirement 11. And also your quarterly VA scans and ASV scans which are performed are also a part of this requirement. Requirement 12, as I mentioned.
I have a question on scanning.
Yeah.
What is the difference between PCI scan and VA scan? Is it
Okay.
same or different?
No, it's the same thing. So ASV, as I mentioned, is authorized scanning vendor. So they are registered as part of the PCI Council. So they will do your external VA. Okay. And they will look for vulnerabilities on systems which are publicly accessible. and they will provide uh, uh, their either compliant or a non-compliant report. If there are non-compliance, then we need to do mitigations, and they'll do a rescan to see if mitigations are taken care of. So your PCI scan and your ASV scan are same. Okay. Internal VA is done by an internal team, or it could be outsourced to an external vendor. So that is on organization.
Sorry, quick question, please.
Yeah.
In your experience, can you just, what is this automated alert mechanism for suspicious activities? What is that physically? I mean, in real life, what have you seen?
Yeah. So okay, I can give example from
Yeah.
what I have seen is in the recent past there were certain incidents where our organization was constantly being hit by where people are trying to gain access onto our environment. Like we have one client, one telecom client, where they try to gain access to the telecom client through us. Okay, so we were constantly getting hits. So in that scenario, whenever the hits were happening, we were. And now what PCI requires is, that the system gives an alert that we are under attack or something like that.
Oh, you're saying it's the
So
IPS system that's configured for
IDS,
special.
IPS, and also you have the SOC team which monitors, right? So, and all these
Okay.
logs also needs to be captured as part of your SIEM. So,
Good. Thank you.
okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the last is the requirement 12, which talks about your risk assessment processes, your policies that you need to keep in place from a PCI requirement perspective, the training requirements, the HR requirements, and one other key thing which is there is your incident management. So that is covered as part of requirement 12. Then you have a couple of annexures which I'm not covering here because those are annexures where in case you have multi-tenancy, where your organization is supporting multi-tenants on a same environment, then you have certain requirements that you need to comply with to ensure that you have segregation between the multiple clients that are there. So it might be applicable to your organization, or it couldn't be applicable. So that is why it is in annexure. Okay, so in case you have any system which is access like AWS, for example, if I say they have multi-tenancy because there could be multiple organizations within the same bucket. Yeah. So how do they segregate those different clients that they have? So those related controls are covered as part of annexures. Okay. So I just thought I'll give you that tidbit on that. So I hope on a very
I
high
just have one
level,
question here.
yeah.
When you say multi-tenancy, though AWS, irrespective of any cloud provider, irrespective they are compliant or certified, still you need to have this in place.
Yeah, you need to have that segregation. Otherwise, it is like client A cannot access client B's data, right? So that segregation needs to be maintained, right?
Sure, sure.
So that is the whole concept of multi-tenancy. Okay. So what we have covered now is in gist of all the 12 requirements. Okay. So this was on a very high level, maybe I would say 30,000 feet height. This was maybe at a 20,000 feet height. Okay. Uh, so these slides are on the 20,000 feet height. Then from a GISA Council point of view, we are also coming up with a certificate program on PCI DSS. on an implementer and auditor standpoint, which we are starting on the 23rd, where we will cover things at a zero level standpoint, which will be whatever I have covered till now. We will cover it in a much more granular, on a much more detailed way in a on a on a 20-hour program, which will start on the 23rd. Which will be like a 5-day training, where we will cover in detail the whole structure of PCI from an implementer point of view, what you need to know, from an auditor standpoint, what you need to know. So I just thought I'll just highlight that there is this thing coming your way, and if you're interested, you can contact the number there, and also you have Raghav and Deepthi, who is part of the call. They'll assist you in that, and the training will be provided by me, on a very detailed scale. So I just thought I'll put that in somewhere in between, so that it comes to your attention. Okay.
Mr. Pradeep,
Yeah.
can you summarize the changes from version 3 and version 4? It would be great for the end of the session.
Yeah. No, that is the next slide. What is
Okay.
new? Okay. So I just put this flyer in between so that I know this is a very key thing that is you need to know from the changes standpoint. Okay, so the key changes, there are 64 different changes that has happened. Okay, so where some not so mandatory, good to have practices have become mandatory. Some of the new changes that have come in is what is here in front of you. Okay, so I just thought I'll just put in here because this is just a 1-hour session that we are going to have. So we cannot cover all the 64 here. So when I take the detailed thing, I will, wherever I'll run through the whole checklist. So wherever it is new, I will highlight that this is new. But the key ones are this, where MFA requirements are extended to all the systems that are having access to the card data. Okay, before it was only either out of scope or from a remote environment, if you are trying to access, is where MFA was required. But now, any interaction to cardholder environment or to the cardholder data, you need to go through multi-factor authentication. So much so that in a BPO, if somebody is doing card collection, if he's providing a service where he's going to access a particular cardholder environment, they have to go through multi-factor authentication. That to that level you need to have. That is the first one. Next one is on the customized approach. So now PCI has provided a checklist on its portal, which is free to anybody to access. You can create an user ID, you can download, you can go through the checklist. You have checklists for merchants, you have checklists for service provider, but the controls are more or less the same. Okay, so if you go through the checklist, they also provide what you need to do to ensure that a control is 100% implemented. Okay, and it also provides the organization with the flexibility to to implement the same control in any other way they want. Okay, for example, if say you have an antivirus system implemented, not an anti-malware, okay, but you have mechanisms where you are restricting access through access control, or you are doing, you have anti-phishing campaigns, which is, from an external vendor implemented. So you need not have a full-fledged anti-malware system implemented, but you can have these components done in separate ways. That is also acceptable. Then you have certain quarterly requirements where you need to do VA scans every quarter, but you will not be able to ensure, because now one other thing which is mandated from a scanning perspective is still 3.2.1 non-authenticated scans is the mechanism which you could do. But from 4.0.1, you have mandatorily you require to do an authenticated scans, which gives you vulnerabilities, in maybe 10 or 20 times more than what a non-authenticated mechanism is to provide. Where we were getting 100 vulnerabilities, now we get 1,000, 2,000 vulnerabilities. So it is not possible that a team, IT team, which is, if you have a small IT team, for them to ensure that the mitigations are done across devices. So through customized approach, they allow you to do something called the targeted risk analysis, which is there below. Basis that you can define the period of mitigation. So instead of 1 quarter, you might say I would take 2 quarters to mitigate, since but till that time I accept the risk as per the targeted risk analysis that I have done. So that is the kind of flexibility the council is giving organization from a customized approach point of view. Okay, so customized approach in certain cases goes hand in hand with the targeted risk analysis, because basis the risk analysis you do, you can define the approach that you want to follow for a certain control. Okay,
Sorry,
so these are the
Will you
yeah.
be sharing the risk analysis template also? How to
Yeah,
calculate
so
the risk?
that is also published in the PCI Council site. So when you go to the PCI Council website, which is there, I will show that in the end of the slide. Okay, you can create a login ID there. There is a link to documentation. Okay, so there you have the template for the targeted risk analysis, as well as for the customized approach as well. So
sorry,
you
what's it
can download.
targeted towards?
Can you repeat, please?
It's a targeted risk analysis targeted to what?
Yes. So targeted. So the example that I just gave, from a mitigation standpoint, if a team is not able to mitigate all the vulnerabilities identified, because when you do a quarterly scan, you need to ensure that you do the scan and also the mitigation within the quarter. But since authenticated scan throws out uh, vulnerabilities which are in a large numbers, the team might not be able to provide the mitigation within the quarter. So they might take an extension of a quarter more. So to have that extension, we do a targeted risk analysis, saying that for the kind of mitigation that the team has to provide, the team would accept the risk till the mitigation period and provide a time period of 2 quarters and ensure that the mitigations are done by the 2 quarters. So the
Thank you.
template the template for the same is provided in the PCI Council site.
Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Now,
Sir, I have one doubt.
yeah.
So we have heard about card cloning, right? So it was very rampant in olden days when it was only magnetic strip. How has it impacted now? And second thing is just like financial institutions. What about the credit card manufacturing companies? Who manufacture those?
Yeah. So
are they
the card
also applicable to PCI DSS?
Yeah, very much. The card manufacturing companies are also part of. So one of the breach that which I audited was for a card manufacturing company. So the controls were not in place, due to which card information got leaked, and a lot of data was compromised. So yeah, it is applicable to them also. They fall under the financial institution bracket.
Okay, sir.
Rather, I have also audited the card manufacturing companies. So there are different set of rules and regulations for them as well.
What about card cloning,
Okay.
sir? Is it like, how is it affected?
See, now more than cloning, you have that Wi-Fi thing, right? So there are a lot of frauds that are happening with the Wi-Fi systems. So see, the whole purpose of the PCI DSS requirements is to minimize that card data exposure is minimized. So to minimize the card data exposure.
Are they still
That is why
allowed to
you have this
use?
control.
Sorry. Are they still allowed to use Wi-Fi connected payment terminals?
Yeah, it is still there.
I mean, some small shops still use their
Small,
terminals,
big,
and they say,
small,
"Oh,
big.
bad connection, bad connection." But the thing is, their sort of home, their routers are supplied. They're sort of just normal home, or the Wi-Fi. It could be just a domestic Wi-Fi. So is that allowed?
See, there are Wi-Fi cards which are given by banks now. So when I say Wi-Fi, it is not the Wi-Fi routing system which I'm talking, it's the Wi-Fi cards where you do the tap and pay kind of.
RFID.
Yeah, through RFIDs. Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah, but it's still
those,
the terminal is still attached to their
yeah,
local Wi-Fi router.
that's right. So for that you have controls recommended by PCI to ensure that the routers are configured in a way that data doesn't move out. So you need to have uh, like a protocol implemented,
So
like a
the
TLS
routers
kind of.
are in scope.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi
routers are in.
routers.
Yeah, it is in scope if card data is transmitted through them.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So the one of other new requirement that has come up is, in case you are developing application where card data, you're developing application where card data is either collected or processed, then the side scripts which are there, you need to maintain a log of those scripts. Okay, and you also need to maintain a mechanism to see who has the authority to use the script, change the script, and also review those scripts. So if you have a payment page where card data is collected, then the scripts associated needs to be, first you need to have an inventory. Then any change that is made, you need to have a mechanism you need to have a change management process which is logged and tracked. And then you also have to have a code review mechanism implemented. So that is a
Sorry,
new
what?
thing that is.
Sorry, these scripts. I mean, what do they do? Basically, can you throw some light on this?
Yeah. These scripts would be used for collecting card data, processing card data, or transmitting card data.
Are these standard scripts, or are these sort of don't they come with the equipment? And are they software? Are they firmware?
No. This is not related to firmware. In case an organization develops a script, like you might develop an application to collect card data, like a secure payment portal, or an internal in-house IVR system where you're collecting card data and transmitting card data through the application. So these systems, the scripts that are used to collect and process or transmit the card data needs to be you need to have an inventory, and also you need to have a mechanism to verify who has last changed, that, and then who is managing those scripts, the code review of those scripts, all those things need to be processed. You need to have a process around it.
So user card numbers, because obviously there's obfuscation of those card numbers for front public-facing workers. But do back-end staff can actually see full card numbers, the database people, the back office?
They shouldn't. They shouldn't. That is why it says at rest also you need to have encryption.
So are you
implemented.
saying nobody can see people's card numbers? No one, there's no area in the organization that actually do
Yes.
have access to card numbers?
They shouldn't have.
Even the database
Absolutely.
administrators?
Absolutely. As part of the audits, if you have database that stores the card data, the column or the row in which the card data is stored should have encryption in place. So much so that not only you need to have the disk encrypted, even the row to which the information is stored should also be encrypted with a separate key. That is a new requirement.
So what's a verification? How do you verify the card then? Obviously, is there a system verification?
Yeah. So the
Or does
auditors
it,
would the auditors
no, I
would
mean
log
the
into
actual process of a card payment. You touch the terminal, it connects to the banking system. Is that the only place where it's visible in?
I don't think it is. No, it cannot be manually visible. Like manually backend a person goes and checks. No. So the payment processing, when it happens, card data is collected, it is encrypted, it is sent to the payment processing payment gateway. They decrypt, they process, and post processing, it is encrypted and stored, and uh, then you get the transaction status that if the payment went through or not. That is how it happens.
So people don't see the number. It's just a system can verify, yes, everything is okay, and it sends okay back.
Absolutely. It has to be completely automated. It cannot be that somebody sitting in the back end in the database has a visibility to card data. No. It has to be encrypted and stored.
So every company that processes card payments, they're connected to a payment provider as a part of the infrastructure. Is that correct? I'm just trying to get an overview of the infrastructure, the payment processing infrastructure.
Yes, that is how it is.
So who are the payment providers? Who are the sort of payment processors? Sorry, is there the banks? Visa, MasterCard.
Payment gateways, you have multiple payment gateways. I think Verifone is one of them, to what I know. Then you have CloudStrike, if I'm not CloudStrike. You have Strip. There is one company called Strip.
Is PayPal one of them? PayPal?
Yeah, but are they connected to the banks?
Yeah, they are connected to the banks.
So it ultimately goes to the bank, MasterCard, Visa.
Yes, they are the brands. They are the key brands. So the banks will store this information, and bank will provide their PCI compliance to the brands.
So these payment processes are just sort of midway. The actual end of the journey is MasterCard, Visa, and the banks.
Discover, JCBs, yeah, they are the endpoints.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So these are the key new requirements. One which password I did mention, 12 from 8 to 12 it has changed. And anti-phishing is something which is now been included as part of the malware requirement 5. So these are some of the new requirements. Okay, moving forward. So as I mentioned, based on the different levels that are there, either you will get an ROC which is provided by the QSA, which is the report of compliance. And when it comes to level 2, level 3, and level 4 for merchants, and level 2 for service provider, you have an SAQ. Okay, so that that is self-assessment questionnaire. That is one of the reports that you will have. And then you have the ASV report, which is provided by the ASV vendor, and you'll have the pen test reports, which is either done annually or after any major change that is there within the system. So these are the major compliance validation methods. Okay, so an ROC is provided by the QSA after completion of the audit and after completion of all the evidences that they verify, and they provide this report of compliance. This is something which is for internal organization consumptions only. Generally, you don't share an ROC with anyone because it will have organization specific information like IP addresses, the devices that you are using, then the different access mechanisms, authorization mechanisms, encryption mechanisms that you're using, which is in a very detailed format. Generally, what you submit to anybody who requests PCI compliance is an AOC, which is an summarized version of an ROC on a very high level, that is on a 30,000 feet level report, which is generally is what you provide to anybody who requests you to say that your organization is PCI compliant. Okay, you don't share the SAQ SAQD. There also you will create an AOC, which is attestation of compliance, and that is what is shared for level 2 perspective. And on request of any client, you can choose to share the ASV report or not, and the pen test report or not. Okay, and that also you only share the compliant report. That is on request. These are all, this is the major requirements from a compliance validation standpoint.
Question on pen test.
Yeah.
Who are authorized to do pen test? Do we need approved pen testers or anybody?
So it can be an external organization. It need not be an approved scanning vendor. Okay, it can be anybody who has the credentials to do pen test, or it can be an internal team that you have. Okay, it can be even a small organization who does pen test, but they need to have the credentials to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, now I just listing on a very high level on the generic gaps that we generally see. Okay, some of them from a requirement 8 perspective, where you have shared and generic user IDs used. Okay, because then you will not know how to track. Okay, I think yeah, track the users that you'll not be able to track who's done the if in case of a breach or in case of any thing, you'll not get be able to identify who is who has done the activity. So that's why you cannot have shared or generic user ID. So that is something which is generally found as a gap. Then you have unpatched systems. Then you don't have logging and monitoring enabled on all systems, or are not maintaining for 12 months. These are the general gaps. Then weak network segmentation implemented, no formal risk assessment process or training awareness not been done. These are some of the examples of gaps which are there, and also the fixes around it. I will share this presentation, to Deepthi, and then maybe if required, can we send across. Then, where is your role in the whole compliance? I think, from a role perspective, every team plays a role. The security team, the IT team, the finance and the payment team, then the development team if they are developing an application, the management and the compliance team to ensure that the oversight and the governance is there, okay, and the adherence to the requirement is there. So, generally this is the team structure is there in each organization. So each team plays their role in terms of ensuring the compliance to the requirement is there or not. Then, last but not the least, the key takeaways. We have seen what is PCI. We have seen the different merchant and service provider levels. We have seen on the MFA requirements. We have seen the segmentation requirements. Then, the documentations that is there as part of requirement 12. Then, if in case of e-commerce merchant, the scripts which are there. So we have seen some of the new requirements which are there as part of that. Okay, and then we have seen what a card data is, what can be stored, what cannot be stored. These are some of the key takeaways that we have had during the sessions, and also for the nice questions that everybody had in terms of at every given stage. I think that is what we can say as our key takeaways and actions that we have. Okay, so the whole purpose of PCI DSS is summarized here. It is for protecting the cardholder data, and in a way that is ensures that it is everyone's responsibility to do that. Okay, and this is the PCI Council website, that is PCIsecuritystandards.org. Okay, so you can go to the documentation session, and they have provided all the detailed document around the PCI requirements, so you can download, you can see, and that is something which I am going to cover as part of the training, which is there which is starting on the 23rd of May. Okay, so the interested individuals can directly get in touch with Deepthi or Gaurav. No, sorry, Raghav, not Gaurav. So you can get in touch with them, and they will help you with the whole process. So finally, any questions which I would be rather happy to answer.
Yeah, your certified course, is that accredited?
It is more of a GISA initiative. Okay, so it will give you an insight, and as part of that course, in the end I will tell you, because accreditation is only provided by the PCI Council. Okay, so where you can go write the exam. The training and exam is a pretty costly affair when it comes to PCI
Oh, so
Council.
there's an exam. You can do the exam after the training.
After the training, so the PCI Council also has the provision where you can just do the exams. So you can take the training elsewhere. You can do the
How much is
exam.
the exam?
I think it varies from a member and non-member. I think non-member it is 1,250 USD, and for a member it's around 1,000 USD if I'm right. So you can check the rates in the link that I've provided here, right? PCI securitystandards.org. Yeah, so you'll get the details there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So is there any other questions that anyone has?
A question on the content of the course, the one which is going to be taken up by GISA Council versus the one taken by PCI directly, how are they different in terms of content and criteria?
Can you go on mute, please? Okay, from a content perspective, maybe let me share a screen. Just give me, just give me a sec. Can somebody mute, please? Let somebody has got unmuted. Hari Prasad, could you just unmute? Thank you. So, okay, let me share the screen on the course content. So it is similar to what we cover in PCI, covered by the PCI Council. Okay, so this is what we are going to cover as part of the course. Module 1 is going to be on introduction, where we'll talk about the history, transition timelines, and key differences. Okay, and then we have the compliance framework. Okay, in detail, we'll go through each of this from an architecture and defined and a customized approach module. Then a module on scoping. Okay, then you have requirement 1 and 2, requirement 3 in detail, we have requirement 4 in detail, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12. Okay, then we'll have a session on the assessment process, and then we'll have a case study and workshop, and we'll have a final review where we'll have a Q&A session. So this is what we plan to cover, and it will be, I have personally gone through the PCI Council training session on PCI QSA. So I have developed the whole module basis that. So that is what we are going to cover, and each module or each requirement will be covered in detail. I will go through the whole checklist line by line and tell you from an auditor perspective what you need to check, and from an implementer perspective what you can implement. So this is what I'm going to cover as part of the training.
Thank you, Pradeep.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Is there any other question before we wrap up the call?
Yeah, yes, sir. So based on this course, will you provide any the questionnaires or the templates which we have to provide to the different stakeholders to get data from there and kind of such documents?
Yes. Yes, I will provide all templates as part of the course.
And will there be any hands-on assessments as well? I mean,
Yeah, we will
in
do case. Yeah, we'll do case studies, and we will also do, where when we are doing scoping, we will have a case study on how scoping needs to be done, what you will take as part of the scoping and all that. So
Okay, and another question is, do you, by any chance, do you know about CISA, SISA, where they provide this process and certification as well?
yeah,
PCI.
I have worked with CISA. Okay,
Okay.
I've worked with CISA. I've worked with control case. I've worked with QRC. Okay,
Okay.
and I've worked with people who are working there as well. So I have personally worked with control case and QRC. So so yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's great, sir. So I just have one question that, like, from CISA, they are also offering certification, the CPI-SI certification. So
Yes.
it is also accredited to some AINC or some such, so one certification body. So, do you think is it valuable compared to the the original one PCI which provides?
See, the original accreditation is provided only by PCI Council. Okay, any other certificate or anyone else, it is more on the CP, within CP points, as well as, you know, you will get the knowledge that you need so that you can write your, you know, you can directly go write the exams. So
Yeah, got it, sir.
even
Thank you.
the CISA course, I have taken the CISA course personally. Okay, it is like an it is not accredited to by the PCI Council, but yeah, it is more of they giving the awareness. It's the same way what we are also going to do.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
I think there was a hand raised by uh, Lee, right? So is there any question you have?
No. Thank you very much for the session, Pradeep.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you everyone. It was nice talking to you. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend too.
Hi, sir. Do you have your? You have the PPT? Okay.
Yeah, I will have a word with Deepthi before. I think they should have a mechanism to send it to you. Yeah, I think somebody raised a hand. So
Hi, good evening. I think I've just seen the link in the chat box, so it's okay. I wanted to ask for the slides that you were presenting.
sure, I'll send it over to them, and they should be able to send it to you.
Yeah, we will be sharing it to you people. Those who are registered, we will be definitely sharing the slides to them.
All right, thank you.
And for like a CP, 1 hour CP, you can fill up that form. We already shared for 1 hour CP. I'm again sharing the form. Just a second. You are requested to fill up that form. Okay. Just a second.
Thank you, Pradeep. Thank you so much.
Welcome, most welcome.
So we are winding up the session. Thanks for participating. Thank you all. Good night. Yeah. Thank you.
Raghav, can you call me once after winding up?
Sure. Sure.
Okay, thank you.